More than 40% of child homicide cases in the United States are never solved. Most of them slip away quietly. No headlines, no legacy. But a few don't disappear at all. They calcify. They turn into legend. And almost none transform a single-family home into one of the most argued-over crime scenes in modern American history. Tonight, we're going back to a name the world still hasn't let go of: JonBenét Ramsey. December 26, 1996, Boulder, Colorado. Sometime in the early morning hours, 6-year-old JonBenét Ramsey disappears from her bedroom. By nightfall, she's found dead inside her own home. What followed wasn't just a police investigation. It was something messier than that. A collapse of certainty. Here's the thing. This mystery starts with paper. A ransom note. 3 full pages, left neatly on the staircase as if someone wanted to make sure it was seen. It wasn't rushed, it wasn't sloppy, and it was written inside the house. The demand was strangely precise. $118,000. Not a round number, not a guess. It matched John Ramsey's Christmas bonus down to the dollar. And then, nothing. No follow-up call, no instructions. Hours later, JonBenét's body is found in a small, windowless room in the basement. She'd been struck on the head, strangled with a garrote, duct tape placed over her mouth. From the very beginning, this case refused to behave the way a case is supposed to. Look, this matters. The house was never sealed. Friends were invited in. Family members moved freely, room to room, upstairs and down. Evidence, potentially critical evidence, was touched, shifted, and likely lost forever. At one point, John Ramsey himself carried JonBenét's body upstairs. To some, that looks like a father in shock. To others, it's an irreversible break in the chain of evidence. Investigators quickly narrowed their focus to the people already inside the house. They called it an umbrella of suspicion. Standing beneath it were John Ramsey, Patsy Ramsey, and their 9-year-old son, Burke. The theory was blunt: that the kidnapping was staged, that the ransom note was theater, that no outsider ever set foot inside the home. In 1999, a grand jury voted to indict the parents for child abuse resulting in death. But the indictment was never signed. The district attorney said there simply wasn't enough evidence. In court, the case stalled. Everywhere else, it detonated. Years passed. And then technology stepped in and complicated everything. DNA testing uncovered foreign male DNA on JonBenét's underwear. It wasn't her father's, it wasn't her mother's, and it wasn't her brother's. In 2008, the Ramsey family was officially cleared of suspicion. But science doesn't like clean endings. Later testing suggested the DNA was mixed, possibly transferred, possibly incomplete. Enough to shake confidence, not enough to close the case. Slowly, the intruder theory came back. A broken basement window, an unidentified footprint, the unsettling idea that someone may have been watching, waiting. And this is where every theory starts to crack. If an intruder entered the home, why sit down and write a 3-page ransom note inside it? Why use paper from the house? Why demand a sum so tightly linked to the father's paycheck? And if the family was responsible, how does unknown male DNA stay lodged at the center of the crime? In 2006, a man named Mark Karr claimed he did it. He knew details. He sounded convincing, at first. But his DNA didn't match. Every explanation creates a new problem. And maybe the hardest possibility to accept is this: that the truth isn't dramatic enough to feel satisfying. but too tangled to explain cleanly. Nearly 30 years later, JonBenét Ramsey is still frozen in time. A child remembered through pageant photos and unanswered questions. Police insist the case is still open. New DNA techniques are still being explored. But let's be honest, justice delayed doesn't feel like justice. It feels like noise. Noise slowly replacing memory. And somewhere inside that noise, a child's voice fades. So what do you think? Was this a crime of intrusion? Or a tragedy shaped by silence inside the home? Share your take in the comments. And keep watching for another case where history cracked under pressure.